I have a question for you. So I have a different sort of take on all of this outside of just the market and growth. So obviously there's this big cannabis craze, right, in the U.S. And so even PR firms now, I see PR firms specializing just in CBD or just in cannabis. And so that's also exploded in growth. But my question to you is the following. Let's say this trend continues with legalization, across the U.S. How will that impact, criminal justice reform? And again, it's not necessarily a market question, but you have all these people who are, sitting in jail right now for things. So how is that? What are we going to see if this becomes legalized, right? And we keep going in that direction. What about what's going to happen to all of these people that the state is paying for right now who are in jail for this very same thing that is now going to continue to be legalized in the U.S.? I'm 100% in favor of that. I will say, just from a consumer perspective, when I see the words flavors and fragrance, I get scared, right? I want to run away from that. That's not where I want to put my dollars, right? Because, fragrance could be any number of 100 different chemicals in something,
sure,
right? So I want food that is real food, right? I don't want flavors. I don't want scents. I spend more money to get products that don't have those things.
Which is kind of the hit on these plant-based meat makers, too. And you've covered this in terms of how healthy they actually are,
right,
or unhealthy when you think about what's actually in them. You talk about the sodium count being so high.
Yeah, I know there's a debate about how healthy they are, right? There's also an ethical debate as well, right? So in terms of that debate, I mean, I think that one's clear that it's the right move.
Yeah,
you're reading about this for years to come.
Oh, no, for sure. I think it's been a bad job, but the stock hasn't necessarily reflected.
Yes, that's correct. But now, I mean, if you have people who are really afraid to fly these airlines because of a PR crisis, that is not well handled. I think the real takeaway here is that from the very first moment that there was an issue that happened here, the CEO could have really acknowledged it or done more than they did with the actual airline. And so that kept happening and that sort of wasn't really addressed head on. Now we're starting to see the trickle-down effect of that.
And it hasn't, I mean...
That's such a great point that Kris brings up, and that's...
I think, we're in such a social media-driven world right now, and so when you just continue to let this chatter and this noise go on for, months on end or however long it is, you just perpetuate the problem, right? And so I think there's a new way and an old way of doing PR, and I think the old way is to say, we're just going to ignore what people are saying online, and we're going to put out this corporate statement. I don't think that's effective anymore.